Howdy, soldiers. Friends, enemies, esteemed guests, people of the court of public opinion, are thou ready to vibe? Did I procrastinate making this video until 9:30 p.m. on a Monday? Yes, I sure did. As of a couple days ago, your girl hit her Goodreads goal for the year! And once you finish your challenge, you can go in and look at the statistics of all the things that you read that year. So you can see the longest, the shortest, the one that most other people read this year as well. And this is also the year that I seriously used Storygraph, which is kind of the other book cataloging app that is not Goodreads and not owned by Amazon. And they have slightly different stats than Goodreads does. So as I'm looking at all these things and learning so much about myself, I thought, hey, wouldn't that be fun to psychoanalyze myself and all my reading choices of the year of 2023. But I didn't want to just do like longest read, shortest reads, because to be very honest, that stuff is boring. I want the juice. I want the drama. I want to know how many books that I cried over. I want to know if I'm actually spending my money in the right place. Did I actually read any of the books that I bought this year for myself? I am nothing if not a woman in STEM. So without further ado, grab a drink, grab a snack, and buckle in, and we're gonna go over my reading statistics for the year of 2023. So first of all, just a quick look at my reading year overall. As of filming this, I have read 81 books and 28,698 pages. And even though you can go to the link in my description to follow me on Goodreads, I'm gonna give you a quick little rundown video here. I don't know if this is beside me or if this is just a screen overlay. I am not great at editing, but these are all the books I read. Wow, look at all of them. Oh my god, those covers. Ooh, so many fun authors. So now that we're all caught up, let's talk about just a couple of like quick stats that I got from Goodreads. The shortest book I read this year clocks in at a grand total of 30 pages. It is Six Deaths of the Saint by Alex E. Harrow. This really goes to show you do not need 300 pages to absolutely wreck your reader. I'm realizing now that my longest book is technically my longest book on a technicality, but my longest book according to Goodreads, clocking in at a grand total of 1,040 pages, is Cushiel's Dart by Jacqueline Carey. This was originally published as a mass market paperback in the 90s, and if you've seen one in real life, they are thick. But Tor sent me the new bind-ups that they're doing for this series earlier this year, and this is only 667 pages, but I'm gonna count it anyway. This is my video, there are no rules, and you're not my real dad. This next stat was kind of interesting to me though. My average rating was 3.9 stars, and I feel like that actually sums up 2023 quite well. Overall, I feel like it was a good reading year. Like, I had less low lows and super high highs. It was like averagely good, but I don't know if there was like a lot of standouts this year for me, even though I did rate some stuff highly. One stat that made me cackle out loud was the highest rated book that I read on Goodreads is Stray Feathers by A.J. Vrana. A.J. Vrana is an author friend of mine who is the author of The Hollow Gods duology, and Stray Feathers is her smut novella. The Hollow Gods actually has 2 editions, so if you get the new covers with Kai on the front, these do have sexy times in them, but originally she did not have smut, so she wrote smut scenes and put them in a little novella that you could purchase separately, which I think is a great idea. But in the new bind-ups, they do have the scenes in them. So I just find this so funny that like so many people rated it highly. And you know what? I stand by that. My friend writes bangin' smut, literally. So what are the things that I like to read the most? Well, according to Storygraph, this delightful pie chart right here, my top, I guess, 3 things I love to read are things that are emotional, dark, and adventurous. Sounds like a bad Tinder profile. Okay. Interesting. As I'm scrolling the, like, actual data from Storygraph, I'm interested to see what they think is emotional, and it's like romance novels and some random fantasy stuff, and I'm like, I mean, yeah, I think there's like emotion in every book. I don't know why you specifically think that Starling House and Priest are in the same category as emotional, but okay. We're gonna go to the dark category. We have books like Gorgeous Gruesome Faces, again, Priest, Sierra Simone, get out of here, Dowry of Blood, Darkwater Daughter, Last Tale of the Flower Bride, like, yeah, okay, those track. Okay, these ones track. What is under the adventurous category? I'm just going to assume fantasy stuff. Nope, not that at all. Okay. I don't know if I trust this. I can understand some of this. Like, Hellbent is under adventurous, and like, I guess if you want to adventure on down to hell, then it's adventurous. Adventures of Amina al-Sarafi. That makes sense to be on the adventure list. But like, why is Bookshops and Bone Dust on that list? I guess she is an adventurer, but that whole book takes place within like 3 square blocks. And if we're going month by month, it looks like I read the most books in May and October. In May, I read 10 books with 3,428 pages with an average rating of 4 stars. And then in October, I read 9 books with a total of 3,045 pages with an average rating of 3.64 stars. I guess that kind of makes sense because publishing usually has 3 seasons. You have like your winter, you have your summer, and then you have your fall. So that transitional period of like April, May, and then again of September, October are when a lot of books are published, and specifically when a lot of like big name books are published. My average book length that I read in 2023 was 354 pages, which clocks in, you know, I like decently medium length books, and I cannot lie. But Rachel, I'm assuming you're all asking impatiently, what in the world kind of page numbers are on these books that you're reading? You won't have to wait with bated breath any longer because I'm going to tell you. So apparently, the page numbers of books I read, majority are 300 to 499, which tracks. What was my average? 320 something? Whatever it was. I also have 28% of under 300 pages, which, yes, I've actually gotten quite a bit more into novellas this year and some shorter fiction, so, you know, statistics, and about 5% at 500 plus pages. Let's go deeper into this. What were the 7 books that were over 500 pages? So we have A Dark and Hollow Star, we have The Serpent and the Wings of Night, we have Curious Tides, A Day of Fallen Night, Kushiel's Dart, Fourth Wing's over 500 pages? And of course, Chain of Thorns. If we were to look at the pace of all these dark, adventurous, and emotional books that I've been reading, you would see that I like a medium-paced book. The nice 69%. Apparently, I do not like slow books. Only 4%. Wait, hold on. There's only 3 books that were considered slow by Storygraph. What are they? Kushiel's Dart. Fair. That book is apparently, so I'm told, over 1,000 pages long. The Bite by Z.W. Taylor? What? That is not slow. I disagree. And lastly, Chain of Thorns by Cassandra Clare. This clocks in at 752 pages. I don't think this is a slow book. I just think that it's big. Like, she's a hefty lady, but I think I still finished her in like 4 days. And the only reason it took so long was because I was working full-time. Who runs these statistics? I would like to talk with Mr. Statistic. Now, what kind of genres was I reading this year? To absolutely no one's surprise, the top genre is fantasy, but the second one is romance, and that surprised me. Like, yes, I'm getting more into romance novels over the last little while. Actually, does this mean just romance, or does this mean, like, romantic subplots? You guys are seeing some hard-hitting journalism right here in real time. Some of these are straight-up romance novels. Business or Pleasure, Iris Kelly Doesn't Date, Kushiel's Dart, damn, that is showing up everywhere today. But also, like, Imogen obviously is on this list, and I don't necessarily think of that as a romance novel. I think of more like a coming of age with a romance subplot that directly affects the coming of age. So, like, all right. My third most popular genre is LGBTQIA+. You know, God, my wrist just gave awful sound. Under that was young adults, which that also makes sense to me. I started off as a young adult book blogger, and I still do enjoy it. I am starting to move more into regular adult fantasy and adult romance as I inch closer to my inevitable grave. Wait, contemporary is in my top 5? I have to rethink my life. For years and years, I have made the joke that I read lesser than or equal to a contemporary book a year. And I guess I meant that, like, when I mostly read YA books, because, like, I don't really love YA fiction. I would rather, you know, a book with dragons. We have Happy Place, we have Devon and Chris Plan a Wedding, we have Yellowface. Would you look at that? Character development. And then my top 3 least read are health, graphic novels, and essays, which makes sense because I read 1 book about health this year, which was You Just Need to Lose Weight and 19 Other Myths About Fat People by Aubrey Gordon, which I absolutely loved. And then I read 1 graphic novel this year, which was Ducks by Kate Beaton, which I also absolutely loved. Wait, what essay book did I read? Which is also You Just Need to Lose Weight and 19 Other Myths About Fat People by Aubrey Gordon. So that's it. I guess the natural segue would be to just do a very quick section on whether I read fiction or nonfiction more. And surprise, I read fiction 96% of the time. And my 3 nonfiction books I read this year were You Just Need to Lose Weight and 19 Other Myths About Fat People by Aubrey Gordon. Also Ace, What Asexuality Reveals About Desire, Society, and the Meaning of Sex by Angela Chen. As well as Ducks by Kate Beaton. I guess technically that is a memoir. A quick little section is my format. I read 72% of my books in print and 28% digital. Wait, does this take audiobooks into consideration? No, it does not. Okay, so I guess technically audiobooks should be like a tiny piece of this pie. I was gonna give you a real percentage, but I'm gay, I can't do math. But the only 2 audiobooks I listened to this year were You Just Need to Lose Weight and 19 Other Myths About Fat People by Aubrey Gordon and Ace by Angela Chen. But digitally, I ended up reading a lot of, Kindle Unlimited books. Mostly I read some of Katie Roberts' backlist, and then also for one very strange month at the beginning of the year, I read the entire Peculiar Taste series, and then a couple of the Into Shadows novella collection, including Six Deaths of the Saint, What the Dead Know, and Undercover. Maybe this makes me a snob, maybe this makes me classist, maybe this just makes me wasteful. I don't know, but I truly do prefer having a physical book, and if I can, I will get it in physical format, because I work on screens all day, and I don't want to have to stare at a screen for a book as well, and it is a tiny bit the book dragon hoarding, okay? I'm not going to deny it. Moving on to my most read authors. Wouldn't you know it, Katie Robert is my most read author of 2023. And I should have seen this coming because I read 2 of the Dark Olympus series, which is my absolute guilty pleasure of a romance novel series. It's so good, it's so stupid, and I love it. And then also, like I said, some of her backlist and a couple of one-offs for the Peculiar Taste series, and I think like Wicked Villains, because I was trying something. Sierra Simone is also in here, but I find it funny because I think I only read 2 Sierra Simone books, and one of them was like a tiny little EPUB, but it still counts it on here because I read 2 of them, whereas the majority of other authors I've only read 1 book of this year. Same with the other 3 people in my top 5. So Alex E. Harrow, Adriana Herrera, and Olive E. Blake, I also read only 2 books from this year, but they still count it as my most read authors. I just realized I'm wearing Christmassy stuff, and you can't even really see the Christmassy stuff. Okay, so I got my little Christmas dinosaur earrings, and I have on my Christmas pants. Can you even see that? Oh my god, that's a cramp in my leg. Ow! Everything's okay. I'm just 28 years old and slowly dying. There we go. They're little foxes and snowflakes. And then also dinosaur fossil socks. I think that's enough of my feet on the internet today. Alright, so now it's just hit 10 p.m. All of the sugar of this eggnog is kicked in, and we're gonna go a little off the rails. Now we look at the fun statistics. These are the ones that I made up myself and created pie charts for on Canva. So excuse the rush job, we're just gonna call it a creative choice. Also, if you see me adjusting myself like 17 times, it's because I recently got a back tattoo, and oh my god, it was an experience. I'm so excited to finish this video so I can jump in the shower and just rip off that bandage. First thing I wanted to look into was how many books that I read this year that I bought myself versus those that I was sent. For my day job, I work in book distribution, so I get to take home a lot of advanced copies, as well as I work, as a book fluencer with a lot of publishers who will send me things to review. That's very nice, and I absolutely love that. Getting book mail is the best feeling ever. Sometimes I read it, sometimes I don't. And looking at this graph, I am both astonished and yet also very proud of myself, because this year, of the 81 books that I read, 36 or 44% were books that I purchased myself, and 45 or 56% were books that I got sent. For a while there, when I first started book blogging and I felt like I had to say yes to every opportunity that I got, I was saying yes to things that I wasn't really interested in, and so they would gather dust on my floor and I would just go out and buy another stack of books. We have statistical data that I actually do in fact read the things that publishers send me. So please keep sending me things. I love it, and I read them. I was also wondering, how many books did I read this year that were from authors who are new to me? This can be like a debut author, or this can be an author who has a backlist, but like I've never personally read them. I like to try out new authors all the time. This year there were some incredible debut authors, holy shit, but there were also some new old authors. So me gather my data. So I'm excited to say that a whole 45% of the books I read this year were by new authors. Some of these authors who were new to me were also new to publishing, so like some debut authors like Gorgeous Gruesome Faces by Linda Chang, or we got Curious Tides by Pascal Lassalle. But then we also had some already established authors who were just new to me, so like Juno Dawson and Cassandra Kah and Carissa Broadbent. That leads us very nicely into this next statistic, which was I wanted to know just how deep I was on TikTok. I wanted to know the extent to which BookTok had me in its grubby little paws. I am not counting like books that were big on TikTok that I would have picked up anyways. Like for example, I was going to pick up and read The Stolen Heir by Holly Black regardless of what BookTok said about it because I love Holly Black and I love the Elfhame series. These were books that I specifically picked up because I saw them on BookTok so much that I became interested and or a trusted source on the platform recommended them to me. I felt okay about this when I was making the pie chart earlier, but now that I'm looking at it again, this seems a little off. Me just being on a very specific niche side of BookTok that I have carefully curated over 4 years, and so therefore am seeing books that I would be interested in reading anyways, or if it's because I'm running statistics on a test subject of 1. Apparently, I was directly influenced to read 15 books, or 25% of my yearly pages. Now, which ones did I write down as being a direct influence? Okay, so for example, one of my friends on TikTok, Bree from Before Violets, like was hyping Six Deaths of the Saint to high heaven, so hence I picked it up. Despite not being a novella person, like this changed my mind to be a novella person. During Pride Month, A Lady for a Duke by Alexis Hall was all over my FYP page, particularly by Reese Reads. And like no one would shut the fuck up about Fourth Wing this year, god damn, so of course I read it because of that. But in this category, I would also count things like God Killer by Hannah Kanner, which was recommended to me by Elle at ERM Reading. Me being a mutual of Natalia Hernandez, I obviously had to pick up her copy of The Name Bearer, and you know what? I don't regret it one bit that I was influenced. Now we're getting into that dark part of the pie that we saw earlier. We're gonna look at some of the more in-depth questions I asked myself. Now, are you ready for something a little scandalous, a little naughty? We're gonna talk about the 5 books I DNF'd this year. That's right, folks. I DNF'd 6% of all the books that I read this year. For all you nosy people, I DNF'd The Fiancé Farce. I did not like how the story went, and also our main character's supposed to be plus size, and she's not on the cover, which is weird. I did not get through Paris Dalencourt is About to Crumble and Mortal Follies, both by Alexis Hall. The writing was not my style. I started, but I didn't finish Queen Takes Rose by Katie Robert. The Wicked Villain series is just not for me. And don't tell Harlequin, okay? But I did not officially finish Just a Few Fake Kisses by JC Lee when I did my sponsored video with them in the summer. It was just, oh, that was the straightest book I've ever read. Derogatorily. If it's for you, it's for you, but oh, I'm so sorry, darlings, it was not for me. I labeled this next chart as sequel or nah. So how many sequels did I read this year? I am notorious for never reading sequels, to the frustration of my author friends and probably the detriment of my own enjoyment of series, and I am only counting direct sequels. I'm not counting companion novels or prequels. So if we're not talking about companion series or prequels, I read 7 sequels this year. I know that is a very low number, but for some reason this also feels like an all-time high. So let's speed through some roll call. We have Forever Theirs, Amid Secrets and Shadows, Cruel Seduction, Radiant Sin. I think I did those backwards, but it doesn't matter. We're on a roll. We have Chain of Thorns. We have Hellbent. And last but certainly not least, am I okay? Last but certainly not least, Defend the Dawn. Oh my god, I need to go to sleep. And as the raging bisexual that I am, I wanted to know how many books that I read this year that were queer. As we saw, LGBTQIA+ books were in my top 3 of most read genres, but how many of them specifically were gay? Now for this one, like there wasn't any actual graph on these apps, like I made this up, so I probably missed 1 or 2 in there. Editing Rachel here. So there is actually a way in Storygraph to go and look in on the books books that were categorized, but I missed it at the time of filming, and then when I looked at it later, I figured that it was missing some things. So I think this is wrong, and I'm just gonna keep going with the one that I made. But my parameters were that the main character be some type of queer, that there be a main queer relationship, and or that being queer or the queer community was a major subplot, if not the entire background plot. So I counted books that had both heterosexual passing couples that were bi or pan or what have you, or where it was a book where just like multiple characters were queer. It does get a little tricky though when you're talking about like fairy books or like paranormal books, because it's always like, you know, fairies are always down to try something, right? And I'm happy to announce that over 50% of the books that I read this year were queer, so that's a grand total of 45 books, or 56%. So yeah, 56%. I think that's pretty good. Probably could up that, though, so that's gonna be my goal of 2024, just to get even more gay, reach my final form. And last, but certainly not least, how many books did I cry over this year? And when I say cry, I don't mean like a single shed tear, you know, that I could like wipe away dramatically while staring out my window. No. I mean like full body, uncontrollable, heaving sobs. Like, do I suddenly develop asthma in this moment? That kind of a cry. When I first thought of this category, I thought that's gonna be great. Oh my gosh, it's gonna be such a dramatic number. I swear I cry at least like 3 times a month. It must be because of books. Damn, I must have been a stone cold bitch this year, because apparently I only cried 6 times. And that seems inaccurate. That's because it is inaccurate. When I looked back on my own reviews, I actually missed 2 full books. So we're gonna blame that faulty data on sleep deprivation. And the 6 books that did that to me this year include, there was Starling House, which is a beautiful combination of legacy and loyalty and desperation and dreams, and above all else, it has a cool house. Here's a picture of me crying to make up for the fact that I accidentally left it out of the data in the first place. There was also Bookshops and Bone Dust, which was a more wholesome cry, mostly because of the love of found family, and I love a circular callback moment, and the epilogue, it really got me. This is How You Lose the Time War by Amal El-Motar and Max Gladstone. I read this just before my girlfriend and I started dating earlier this year, and oh my god, I don't know if I could give her a romance like this, but I'm gonna damn well try. Not willing to time travel though, that is a bit of a deal breaker. Chain of Thorns by Cassandra Clare. Not because of the major character death. Honestly, it wasn't that traumatic. Following some of the ancestors of people that you know, and like you know how they get there in the future, so like you know what these people have in store for them, but at the moment they're happy, you don't want to ruin it. An undisclosed book from Wednesday Books, because there is still a boycott on St. Martin's Press, so I will not be talking about any of their titles this year. Yet again, for whatever reason, Kushiel's Dart is just sneaking its way into like every category on this list. Yeah, I remember crying on my couch to a good chunk of this ending. Bittersweet, but also like, you know, the harsh consequences of war. And of course, we're gonna end off this video talking about the book that I cried the most over, that probably was one of my favorite books of 2023, and that I also got a tattoo for. It's A Day of Fallen Night by Samantha Shannon. Do you see how many pages this is? Do you see how many opportunities there are for emotional damage? Reading it as a woman, reading it as somebody who wants to have hope for the world, reading yet again about the horror of war and the deep bonds of found family. There is a reason that I got it permanently tattooed on my body. I'll just say that. And that is that on that. Thank you for everybody that came on this emotional, dark adventure with me this evening. Those are my reading statistics of 2023, and it's actually kind of cool because I've never really like looked close at them before, and like, damn, I'm learning so much about myself. Of course, there were plenty of books that I read this year that I didn't get to mention in today's video for whatever reason, so if you really want to see what I'm reading, check out Goodreads, and or tune in here monthly for my monthly wrap-ups. Like I said, I'm speeding through some books right now, and you know, I got some vacation days over Christmas and like leading up to New Year's. It's gonna be really quiet in the office, so probably means that I can get some reading done on the DL. No one tell my boss. Honestly, my boss would not care. She's given me half of these books. Oh shit, it's 11 p.m. I should go to bed. Well, first I have to clean up this literal tornado of books that's in front of me right now. Or maybe I'll just leave it for tomorrow, Rachel. Tomorrow morning, Rachel's not gonna like me, but that's tomorrow Rachel's problem. You know where to click to like the video. You know where to click to subscribe. I hope you guys are all having a nice day or night, wherever you are, and I will see you all next week. Happy holidays!